Okay, so Good Morning Vietnam was directed by Barry Levinson. Good Morning Vietnam tells the story of a radio DJ who is brought into the middle of the Vietnam War to rally the troops and finds himself falling in love with the people of the country. The film is a very loose adaptation of the life of real life DJ Adrian Cronar. Wow, that was the worst thing I've ever written in my life. Most of the
loose.
loose, fast and loose. Oh yeah.
I'm sure.
Most of the radio broadcasts of Williams were improvised. The film was a lucky number 100 on AFI's 100 Years 100 Laughs list, which I think it should be way higher. The film was a major commercial success, grossing $123 million on a budget of just 13. Williams would be nominated for an Academy Award, would ultimately lose out to Michael Douglas for Wall Street.
Okay, Michael Douglas is pretty cool, but Wall Street just sounds boring as hell.
Wall Street is kind of like every shitty Oliver Stone movie, but I don't want to talk about Wall Street. Let's talk about Good Morning Vietnam. So do you know who Barry Levinson is?
No, he sounds like a person.
He made this movie called Wag the Dog. Which,
oh, yes. I was interested in that.
Which
I see it.
I think might be... Oh, you should see it. That's definitely... Actually, you know what? That's what you should do next week for Love and Our Stuff. You should go watch Wag the Dog. Because might be the smartest satire of the future I have seen that was made between 1995 and the year 2000. Barry Levinson's actually a really good director. There's lots of things you can see within Good Morning Vietnam that show me that. Like What a Wonderful World sequence in this film. In which... You didn't actually see this movie, did you?
No, I want to see What a Wonderful World.
Let me see if I can find it on YouTube here. It was a sequence in which...
We can't watch the film while we're talking about it. That's silly.
It's called commentary.
No, that's not going to work.
Too late. It's kind of every shitty Vietnam cliche, but...
Your mom's every...
Wow. Okay, here, see, you can watch it while we're talking about it here. See, I opened it up.
I just want to say, Louis Armstrong is awesome.
Yeah, you love him, don't you? He's your boy.
He's all
you're gonna get the actual music too, which I'm not, which is disappointing to me.
That should be disappointing to you.
Yeah, it very much is.
It's Louis Armstrong.
Oh, this isn't going to work, is it? God damn it. Okay, never mind. This is not actually the movie, is it? No, it's just... No. It isn't. Okay, well, anyways, it does this thing... It does the classic Good Morning Vietnam... Vietnam movie thing where it plays like this What a Wonderful World sequence over all these explosions and people getting blown up and people on fire.
Yeah.
And it never really comes across as a cliche. Which I think is kind of amazing about this movie is that...
Yeah, I don't think that's ever really come across as a cliche. It's just one of those things.
Well, it kind of is. I mean, if you think about it, the harrowing music over Vietnam explosions is kind of a huge cliche. Like, if you watch...
No more so than for any other war.
Platoon, it does that. Yeah, well... I mean, it's a scene. It's something that's used a lot. Like, the opening 5 minutes of Apocalypse Now is just the doors over top of a bunch of explosions.
Well... Let's be honest. It works. I mean, if you want to talk about the casualty of innocence, there's little better way to do it.
And I think the fact that he doesn't choose some classic rock song, but rather "What a Wonderful World" by Louis Armstrong.
Well, you wouldn't choose a rock song if you're talking about the loss of innocence.
Well, no, but the Vietnam trope to do when you do that with Vietnam is you choose something by The Doors or. You choose something from the late 60s, early 70s. No, you choose something that was probably made while the people were high on dope or something like that. You don't choose Louis Armstrong. Louis Armstrong kind of doesn't really fit if you think about it. With what you would assume Vietnam has how Vietnam has been portrayed since from about 79 through to Good Morning Vietnam. And I don't know, I think that this movie is really good. And we'll get into Dead Poet Society, because Dead Poet Society is a better explanation of what I'm going to say about this. But Good Morning Vietnam does this... the type of movie I hate, I call it the feel-good movie. It's the kind of movie my sister really likes, in which it takes this kind of story and turns it into a simplistic good versus evil message, like Patch Adams. Right, where it's
yeah, I hate those.
Yeah, and I hate that more than anything in film.
I feel like I'm being talked down to whenever I hear that in the story these days.
I know, it's so frustrating, is it not?
Not all the time. I feel like there's always going to be a place for the good, bad, good, kill. I mean, it is therapeutic to watch. We get a certain enjoyment out of it, which is why it's stuck around.
It's not that good versus evil is bad. It's the idea of, did you unplug us?
I'm plugged
you plugged my power. Okay, that's fine.
But there's a place for it, and that place is not when you're discussing modern issues. It's not when you're discussing something which really isn't broken down into good versus evil, go kill. Because it just makes a mockery out of not only both sides of the debate, but the struggle over the debate itself. It ultimately demeans and estranges you from the world you live in. Because if it was that simple, it would have been solved decades ago. People weren't dumb up until now.
And Good Morning Vietnam, like if you think about it, and this is more so with Dead Poets Society, and I'll get to it when we talk about Dead Poets Society, but there's no real villain in Good Morning Vietnam. Who is the villain in Good Morning Vietnam?
Is it life, I guess.
Yeah. More than anything, it's probably the American government. Like, that isn't even in the film. Like if you think about it, like, that is kind of the villain, is somebody that isn't even portrayed in the movie. It's kind of
a slice of life film.
Yeah, it really is. It really gets across what he manages to somehow make this cheesy radio DJ into this humanistic, this person that goes and visits all of these kind of villagers and gets to know the people and falls in love and has a real arc.
Yeah.
Like he goes from being a funny person with no real life goal to being somebody that loves Vietnam. It's amazing in a lot of ways.
I think it's an interesting character arc for the audience as well, because that is who we're meant to identify with.
And you really do. And this is kind of what the strength of Levinson's films are, if you think about it. Wag the Dog is kind of similar in that you really do follow the arc of Robert De Niro's character in that movie. You really follow the arc of Williamson's movie. You are invested in it, and he does it in a way that isn't ham-fisted. He does it in actually a very subtle way. You just slowly realize that, oh my God, I care about what happens to this character. And not just because he makes me laugh, but because he's a real person.
And that takes talent.
It really does. It's
ham-fisting is easy. That's why we look down on it.
That's why I hate it. That's why I'm always like, let's do something artistic and weird. And if anything, Good Morning Vietnam proves you don't have to be artistic and weird. You just have to be able to be subtle a little bit, or have good character development.
If you've got competence, you can find a way to say it that doesn't leave your audience cringing about the way you said it.
And honestly, Williams is just great in this film. He's so funny. I quote that "it's hotter than a snake's ass out here" line that he kind of goes, "It's hot." I quote that so much. I'm just like, and part of my "and here we go" bit at the beginning is sort of inspired by Good Morning Vietnam.
Then why the fuck did you not do it today?
Oh, yeah, well, you want me to do it now? I can do it now.
Clown. Well, you should do it now.
And here we go. It's a genre conversation.
That's better.
Better? Okay.
Much better.
Good. It was the idea to hold it was... It was kind of actually, to be honest, when I was thinking of how do I open this show in May, when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, I want to use that line that the Joker has from The Dark Knight, where he's like, and here we go. And I wanted to do that, and I was like, well, maybe I should just combine it with the length, the kind of tone that he uses for Good Morning Vietnam, and just make it sound really ridiculous.
So you thought to yourself, how would Robin Williams do this?
Yeah. Good Morning Vietnam! And here we go, it's a genre conversation. Michael Morris is sitting here. Michael, how's it going? Boom, bang, boom. Just like...
So that's what you're trying to get at with your episode.
Obviously.
Makes sense.
I'm not even that good at Robin Williams. Yeah. I mean, there are some really funny scenes in this movie. I think this movie is actually really damn good. I gave it 4 out of 5. Which for a movie that is kind of a slice of life film, and those films aren't really my cup of tea, that's pretty damn good. I know you haven't seen it, but based off what you've heard...
I'm very interested in seeing this. I'm probably going to rank it highly.
Yeah, like
I'm going in with a positive mindset. I tend to go in with a bias, and I don't really care.
Well, I think part of that is because you're such a
anyway.
big fan of Nostalgia Critic. I mean,
I'm a huge fan of Nostalgia
and that guy is inherently biased. Like, he has to basically nitpick in order to make his show work.
All people are biased. If someone tells you that they have no bias, that they've cleansed themselves of all bias, they are lying to you, and you should not take them seriously.
But like the thing is, a lot of people though, like the best kind of film watchers, don't let their bias affect how they're going to view something. That makes sense. Like, yeah, I'll go in biased towards. I'll probably go see Batman versus Superman in March, and I'll say, yeah, I'm thinking this is going to be a bad movie. It's going to have to do something really spectacular to amaze me. But if it does do that really spectacular thing, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you'll come back wearing your like,
you know what,
T-shirt for Superman, and be like,
swag.
You know, I thought this was going to suck, but it blew my mind.
I'll be like, you know what? Maybe I should go back and rewatch Zack Snyder's filmography, and then I'll realize that I hate Zack Snyder to no end, and won't do that.
Well, that shot you a knife in the foot. But while we're on the subject, I want to talk about stereotypes. Because...
Oh, you want to?
No, because I often say Robin Williams and other actors have become their own stereotype. A stereotype is not a bad thing. We tend to have negative association with stereotype because we tend to see it overused. But sometimes, for the scope of your film, novel, game, whatever, you need a certain amount of stereotype. You need enough to identify the persons of great interest and the guys who are just walking by on the street. Sometimes you use the stereotype, and then you deliberately invert the stereotype later on to show through the stereotype. But on its own, it's simply a tool for storytelling. Now, if you have nothing but a stereotype for all your characters, yes, that's an example of poor writing. But simply using stereotype by itself is not bad. For Robin Williams to have become his own stereotype is actually a great feat if you think about it. He has portrayed a certain type of character so well that we instinctively in our minds link it to his person.
And even then, like, the best thing about stereotype is when you can play off of your own stereotype.
Yes,
have you seen?
He does.
I know, and I think that's one of his greatest strengths, is that he could take that stereotype and turn himself into an opposite reaction to that stereotype when he needed. Have you seen the movie Magnolia by chance?
Nope.
It was made right at the height of Tom Cruise as the world's biggest action star stereotype, and he has this small little supporting bit role in which he plays a sleazy asshole that basically his whole purpose is just to teach you how to pick up women. And he goes. It's so against. I know you don't like him, and I love him. I think he's great, but he takes this stereotype of Tom Cruise, which is this mega Hollywood weird action star, and he turns himself into this weird kind of bit player, something like a Steve Buscemi or something like that. And he does it with so much grace, it's almost jarring. And that's one of the best aspects of that movie. Basically, it's like stereotype can even be good in the fact that you can play off of your own stereotype to make something, to elevate yourself.
And that's absolutely a thing.
And I mean, when you can do that, that's kind of a mark of true talent, I think.
Yes.
Where you are so good that you can take your own stereotype and turn it into something something better is crazy.
I'll agree with that. But even just establishing a stereotype takes effort.
Well, yeah,
we've had lots of talented narrators before. But Morgan Freeman has essentially become... Well, no, think about it. He has become the stereotype for the charismatic narrator. He's done it more consistently and better than most other actors. And that's not a small feat.
I think it's more as a result of South Park.
Let's be honest.
I think it's more as a result of South Park than it is as a result of the fact that he did so many narrations. If you think about a lot of Morgan Freeman's roles,
I never watched South Park. And I still came to that conclusion.
Oh, really?
Other films I've seen him narrate.
I mean, that was where I could trace the origin of everyone thinks Morgan Freeman is the greatest narrator, too, with South Park, because every once in a while, Morgan Freeman will just narrate something, and it's this running joke in South Park where they're like, Morgan Freeman, why do you show up to explain something complicated? It's like, because every time I do, I get a freckle. And then, like, what, bing, pops up on his cheek. Like, that's kind of a running joke within the series. That's where I could trace that back to. I don't know if that's actually real. It is a meme. Well, a lot of South Park is kind of meme. South Park was memes before memes.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
Like,
Memes aren't just memes. Memes are affected by society, and society is affected by memes. So
yeah.
we can't. His Morgan Freeman's skyrocket to fame beyond his roles wasn't strictly due to that, but
It was due to the fact that he was a damn good actor more than anything.
more
Yeah.
than anything else. Which is kind of what I'm saying. So, not all stereotypes are bad. Some stereotypes are, but not all of them are. And when I say that Robin Williams is his own stereotype, I mean that,
In a
but
way
I'm also
that-
saying that with respect. For me, that takes talent.
And even even at the worst moments of William's stereotype kind of had its really really down moments,
Oh yes, all stereotypes
obviously,
do.
but he also had its high points, and
Yeah.
Good Morning Vietnam was one of those high points, right? And on that note, I think we should move into Dead Poets Society.